Some winters don't end when the season changes. They settle quietly in the place we leave behind, in the corners of a station, in the breast between two people, in the words we couldn't say. They say time softened the things we run from, but sometimes it only makes the memory sharper. A smile you couldn't hold on to, a hand you let slip, a warmth you didn't know how to keep. And when the years begin to blur, you look back and realize there were winters you tried to carry and winters you tried to forget, but they all return eventually. This is winter's last melody, the winters we let go. Haru and Ren didn't fall apart all at once. They drifted the way seasons do, a little colder here, a little quieter there, until the distance between them became something they could feel but couldn't name. But before any of that, there were nights in the university hall when Haru leaned into Ren's shoulder, eyes half-lidded with exhaustion, feeling the steady shape of Ren's breathing through his jacket. There were kisses stolen behind the music building, the kind given in soft rushes, both hopeful and terrified, the kind that made Haru smile against Ren's lips before pulling away too soon. There were mornings when Ren tugged Haru's scarf a little tighter, thumb brushing the edge of Haru's jaw, a gesture so small it almost didn't count, except it did, because Haru felt it long after Ren let go. There were afternoons in cafes where their knees touched under the table, and they pretended not to notice, and late evenings where Ren walked Haru home through Sapporo's quiet back streets, snow settling in their hair like dust from a gentler world. And there were the silences, the good ones, the kind when Haru rested his forehead against Ren's shoulder, and Ren read him a passage from some book he liked, and nothing needed to be said, because nothing felt missing. But time began doing what time always does. The days started blending into one another. Classes, part-time shifts, exams, all the things they thought they could outrun. Their messages got shorter. Their laughter softened. Plans got postponed. Because, let's just meet tomorrow. And tomorrow kept moving. Sometimes Haru waited for Ren to show up, fingers wrapped around the warm drink, watching the steam rise into the cold as shadow lengthened. Sometimes Ren arrived late with an excuse. Sometimes he didn't arrive at all. Still Haru held on. Ren did too. But something in the air shifted. Something neither of them said out loud. Something they pretended wasn't happening. The kind of change you only notice in hindsight. One icy evening, as they crossed the street after grabbing snacks, a car took the corner too fast. Tires shrieking across black ice, metal groaning as it struggled against the slide. Haru froze. Ren grabbed his wrist, pulling him back onto the sidewalk. "You okay, Haru?" Ren asked, breast clouding in front of him. "Yeah," Haru lied. But even after the car drove away, Haru kept staring at the tracks it left behind in the snow. The winter Ren became a senior. Their paths didn't clash. Winter didn't steal anything from them. It simply made it clear, the way Haru and Ren were beginning to move at different speeds. Ren laughed just as easily, touched Haru with the same tenderness, held him the same way during cold walks home. But the future, the thing Haru always held like a campus needle, began slipping out of reach. Everyone around Ren was planning internships, entrance exams, cities to move to. Their conversations were filled with nervous excitement and the feeling of a road bending clearly ahead. Ren listened, nodded, smiled. But whenever Haru asked him about his own plans, Ren's answer grew vague, half-formed. "Let's just enjoy this year." Haru tried to match that ease, but something inside him, the part that needed grounding, the part that feared being left behind, tightened like a knot he couldn't loosen. Haru had already chosen his road. Even as a junior, he imagined finishing school, packing boxes, returning home to help run the grandpa's farm, continuing something that held his childhood, his roots, his sense of purpose. Ren knew all this, but Ren himself didn't have a plan. Not yet, maybe not ever. Where Haru grew steadier, Ren drifted gently. He slept through morning classes, missed bus connections, wandered into Haru's arm without noticing how long Haru had been waiting. Haru didn't judge him for it. He never would. But the difference between them slowly became a weight Haru couldn't ignore. One day they sat in a cafe overlooking the snow-covered street. Ren stirred his drink, eyes following strangers outside, thoughts drifting like winter's wind. Haru watched him with a quiet ache. Ren was beautiful in those soft, unfocused moments, but Haru couldn't see where he was heading. They walked home afterward. But that night, Haru realized something he hadn't wanted to face. Ren lived inside the moment. Haru lived beyond it. Not because one was right and the other wrong, but because the space between them had shifted, and neither of them knew how to bend the road back. When Ren reached for Haru's hand near the station, Haru held it. Of course he did. Their fingers still fit easily, naturally, as if no time had changed them at all. But Haru also felt the truth settle quietly in his chest. Love wasn't the question. Timing was. And sometimes, timing is the thing that begins to break first. They entered the station together, side by side, as they had done hundreds of times before. The warmth from outside cafes and bus rides still clung faintly to their coats. But inside Sapporo Station, the air felt colder, sharper, as if it already knew what Haru was about to do. They stood near track 5, snow melting off their sleeves, voices of commuters weaving around them like distant waves. Ren nudged Haru's shoulder gently. "What's on your mind?" "You've been quiet." He looked at Ren, really looked, and knew instantly. If he hesitated even a second, he wouldn't be able to say it at all. So he didn't hesitate. "Ren," Haru began, voice steady in a way that scared even him. "I don't think we should keep doing this." Ren blinked, stunned. Doing what? Haru's eyes didn't waver. Us. This. Being together. The words hit like a winter gust, brutal in how suddenly the warmth left the space between them. Ren stepped forward, confused, hurt. "Haru, where is this coming from? Did I do something? Just tell me." Haru swallowed hard, the decision solidifying inside him. "I'm choosing my path, and I don't know where you're going, and I don't think you know either." Ren reached for him. Haru stepped back. A train horn echoed through the platform. Haru's breast shook, just once, before he forced himself upright. "I don't see you in me." Ren jerked as if it hit. "Haru, wait!" Haru turned, not abruptly, just firmly enough to show he had already made the choice. He took 2 steps away, and Ren ran after him, arms wrapping around Haru, from behind in a desperate, shaking embrace. Haru inhaled sharply at the sudden warmth, the familiar weight of Ren's hold, the way Ren buried his face against Haru's back, like he was afraid Haru might disappear if he let go. "Don't," Ren whispered, breast trembling. "Please, don't just walk away. We can't fix this. I can't fix this." Haru closed his eyes. The ache was unbearable. Ren's arm or memory wrapped around him. Every tenderness, every warmth, every night they had once shared. Haru pried Ren's hand off his coat, one finger at a time, until nothing was holding him anymore. He didn't turn around. His voice came out quiet. "I don't love you anymore." Ren staggered back a step. Haru exhaled, a breath that sounded like breaking. "I don't see myself in your world." A long silence, filled the entire station around them. Ren didn't run after him again. Haru walked toward the exit without looking back, leaving the warmth of Ren's embrace and the last piece of their winter behind him on track 5. There are winters that stretches slowly, quiet, pale, unchanging. And then there are winters that rush into your life so suddenly, you don't remember how the world looked before them. Isuki arrived like that. Not loud, not demanding, just warm in a way Haru hadn't felt in a long time. After hearing about the Tokyo offer, Haru expected distance. He expected hesitation. He expected the beginning of an end. He didn't expect a week that felt like the world folding in around the two of them. Everything blurred together, not in a frantic way, but in the gentle, continuous haze of closeness. The thrift store became a small universe. The hum of the heater, the smell of old wood and fabric, Itsuki grinning as he placed a ridiculous hat on Haru's head, just to hear him laugh. They shared bowls of steaming ramen at night, sitting shoulder to shoulder, in a booth too small for 2 people. Isuki stealing Haru's chashu, Haru stealing it right back, their knees touching under the table like it was an accident that neither bothered to fix. Snow collected on their scarves as they walked home. Isuki brushing flakes from Haru's hair, with fingers that lingered a little too long. Haru didn't pull away. They kissed under a convenience store light, a sudden instinctive pull. Nights blurred into each other, their sweaters tossed onto the same chair, their laughters echoing softly against the apartment walls. Sometimes they stayed awake until dawn, talking about nothing, recipes Isuki wanted to try, colors he wanted to design with, places Haru remembered from BA, the way fresh snow changed the sound of a highway. Sometimes they didn't talk at all. A kiss in the dark, hands finding each other under the blankets, a soft exhale against the collarbone, warm breast pressed into the hollow of a throat. Everything felt new, yet strangely familiar, as if their bodies were learning a language their hearts already understood. One evening, the storm outside made the windows rattle, snow swirling hard against the glass. Isuki lit a single candle on the kotatsu, its warm glow turning the room into something tender and unreal. Haru looked at him across the tiny flame and felt something inside shift. It was only a week, only a handful of days, but it moved through Haru's life like a season he hadn't realized he needed, a season he didn't know he was almost done with. The week had felt like season, bright, warm, unplanned, a rhythm that carried Haru before he even realized he moved. But this day arrived like the softest exhale, setting over them in a way that made the outside world seem unreal. Morning light slid through thin curtains, golden stripes painting the messy futon, where Haru and Itsuki lay in a tangle of blankets and half-whispered laughter. Isuki had packed most of his things the night before. His suitcase sat by the wall, shirts and sketchbooks arranged neatly, the zipper half open like a held breath. Only a few items remained scattered around the apartment. A scarf, a charger, a pair of socks he couldn't find a match for, and a small pile of their clothes mixed together from the night before. Haru's sweater woven between Itsuki's jeans, their undershirts tangled like they'd been folded by the same hand. Itsuki glanced at the suitcase once that morning, then looked away quickly, as if acknowledging it would break something fragile. They spent the first hour draped in blankets. Itsuki curled into Haru's lap, Haru brushing soft lines along his jaw, with a tenderness he didn't realize he'd been holding back. When Itsuki finally sat up, hair messy, eyes bright from sleep, he said it casually, in the tone of someone asking for a pen or a charger. "Hey, can I have something of yours?" Haru blinked. "Like what?" Itsuki blushed, the faintest pink, smiling in the half-teasing, half-serious way he did when he was about to say something bold. "Your underwear." Haru's breast caught, not out of shock, Why? Haru asked softly, heat rising to his cheeks. Isuki shrugged, eyes warm. 'Cause I want something that smells like you. The words landed deeper than Haru expected. He hesitated only a moment before sliding the waistband down. Movement slow, breast a little shaky from the intimacy of it. He folded the fabric once, twice, and placed it into Isuki Waiting's hand. Isuki held it like something precious, thumb brushing the soft cotton, then smiled, a little shy, a little wicked. Then without a word, he slipped off his own underwear, quick and smooth, and offered it to Haru. You keep mine. Haru didn't laugh. He couldn't. The gesture was too tender, too unexpectedly sincere, a warmth he felt in the back of his throat. He took the fabric carefully, as if accepting something fragile, pressed it to his chest for a moment. The exchange felt like a promise neither of them said loud. After that, the day moved softly around them, tea warming between their hands, Isuki sketching Haru on a loose paper. Snow fell harder outside, turning the world into a blurred white quiet. Inside, Haru and Itsuki existed in a room that felt carved out of time. A small, warm universe, holding them just long enough to make goodbye feel impossible. It was only a one day, one suspended golden day, but it settled into Haru, like a memory that would linger forever. They reached Sapporo Station entrance. Isuki shifted his bag higher on his shoulder, packed tight, only a scarf and a traded boxer speaking out of the side pocket. Haru noticed. His chest tightened. The street beside them hissed with sliding tires. A car skidded slightly on the ice before correcting, the driver honking sharply out the window. Isuki flinched. Haru did too, but deeper, as if something inside him braced without understanding why. They stepped into the station's warm air, fluorescent lights, tiled floors, winter coats brushing past. Haru looked at the size of the bag, at the way Itsuki's hands were already red from the cold. Are you sure you can manage all this to the airport? His voice came out softer than he meant. I can't help. I can go with you at least. Isuki cut him off gently. Haru, don't make it harder. The sentence dropped between them like a quiet snowfall, soft, but heavy when it lands. Haru blinked, caught off guard by the tenderness in it. Isuki, every part of him wanted to reach out, just once more. But Isuki exhaled, the long, steady kind of breaths people take when they've already made the decision they know will hurt. Haru, listen, don't take me wrong, but I'm not coming back here. Ever. For a second, Haru didn't understand the shape of the words. Then the meaning hit him all at once, sharp and cold. What do you mean? His voice cracked. What are you saying? We can still call, right? Text. I can visit Tokyo. It doesn't have to end just because. Isuki shook his head with a small, almost apologetic smile. This week was real, but don't wait for me. Haru swallowed hard, the words trembling. A long, cold silence. Isuki inhaled softly. Then he turned. No dramatic pause. No final glance. Just a quiet pivot of his body. The decision already made. His steps steady as he walked toward the gates. Haru kept his eyes on the tiled floor. Jaw tight. Breast shaking. Until the heat behind his eyelids finally broke. And a single tear fell. Then another. And that was how it ended. Not with shouting, not with a kiss, but with two men standing in the same station and choosing different directions. Haru no longer woke to dorm alarms or hurried footsteps in a station. Those days lived somewhere far behind him now, blurred into a time he didn't visit often, except in the quiet between breath. Haru was in his 30s now, old enough that winter felt different on his skin, not sharper, just heavier, the kind of cold that settled into your bones and stayed. The farmhouse creaked as he stepped outside. its wood older than him, its warmth something he maintained now instead of inherited. This was BA, grandfather's land, grandfather's truck, grandfather's routine now carried by Haru's hands. He brushed snow from his sleeves, looked out over the long rows of white fields. His brother joined him, zipping his coat against the cold. You're up early? Delivery day, Haru said, lifting a crate into the truck bed. It's a special order. His brother studied the sky, the thickening clouds, the way snowflakes already floated heavier than an hour ago. Storms coming in fast. Haru nodded, not dismissing it, just accepting it. It's Sapporo, he said quietly. I'll be back before dinner. There was no rush in his voice. He closed the tailgate, took the thermos his brother handed him, and climbed into the truck. The seat molded under him, familiar, too familiar. He sat there for a moment, hands resting on the wheel, watching the snow drift over the fields. Time had passed. Life had settled, and the boy he once was, the one who ran from one station and was left in another, felt like someone he could only meet in a dream now. Haru turned the key. The engine rumbled to life, and he eased onto the road. The truck moved slowly through the early light, mirrors dusted with snow, the heater sighing warm air against the glass. The landscape of BA drifted past in long, familiar stretches, open fields blurring into one another, birch trees stripped bare, fences half buried in white. Snow tapped lightly at first, then a little heavier. A weather update crackled from the radio, visibility decreasing on the Sapporo route, advising drivers not to rush. Haru lowered the volume, letting the voice fade into a soft static. A slow, creeping haze settled over the distance, blurring the road ahead until it felt like he was driving into a watercolor. Haru tightened his grip. His breath fogged the car window lightly every time he exhaled. He turned the heater up a little more, the warmth brushing his knuckles in muted waves. The truck ahead of him was only a pair of dim red lights, hovering like blurred sparks in the snow. Haru blinked, focused, kept steady. The world around him had grown quieter, as if the storm was inhaling before speaking. By the time Haru reached Sapporo Station, the storm had eased into a quiet curtain of snow, thick but gentle, as if winter had decided to behave for the last few kilometers. He pulled into the outdoor loading area, tires crunching over frozen slush, the truck settling with a soft hiss of heat against the cold. For a moment, he just sat there, breathing, letting the engine die down, letting his body relax in the way it always did after a long drive through disappearing roads. The world was peaceful again, almost tender. Haru stepped out into the cold, boots sinking slightly into the packed snow. He walked to the back of the truck, hands pulling at the cold metal latch. It stuck once, then gave way with a soft clank. Breast fogged in front of him, in pale clouds, as he reached in for the first crate. The moment felt ordinary, routine, a simple delivery. He lifted the crate out, hands steady, footsteps slow on the icy ground. A distant car horn echoed, not sharp, not alarming, just the normal kind you hear in a busy station lot. Haru didn't turn. He shifted the crate to his other arm, closed the truck bed with his elbow, and took 2 steps toward the loading entrance. Just 2. The sound hit first, tires sliding, rubber skidding hard across ice, the engine revving too loud, too close. Haru's breast caught. He turned his head instinctively, too late. A car burst through the sheer of falling snow, out of control, a dark shape cutting across white. A single violent jolt knocked the crate from his arms. It hit the ground. Wood splintered, glass shattered. The sound scattered like tiny bells across the snow. Haru felt his back slam against metal. The world tilted, then folded. Snowflakes drifted over him, falling out of rhythm, with the panic in the air. Voices blurred, footsteps rushed. Haru's gaze drifted upward, past the falling snow, past the glare turning his vision white, until it landed on the sign above him, Sapporo Station. They say your life passes by in pictures, in moments like this. But Haru didn't see his whole life. He saw the sign, he saw snow, and then two faces rose through the whiteness, quiet, warm, painful, like the last winters he never managed to leave behind. His eyes softened, closed. Some winters don't pass. They settle quietly in the place we return to, and the place we never made it back from. A heart holds many seasons, warm ones, brief ones, ones we didn't know were ending, until the moment they slipped out of our hands. For Haru, every winter he let go found its way back to him. Ren's gentle devotion, Izuki's bright, fleeting light, two different loves, two different versions of who he once was. But life doesn't warn us. When the last page of a season is turning, sometimes it comes as a single sound. Tires sliding, a breast caught in the cold, a station sign glowing through the storm. And in that instant, all the winters he carried rose to meet him, not to haunt him, but to hold a part of him he never stopped loving. This was Winter's last melody, Chapter 3, The Winters We Let Go. Thank you for staying through this chapter. Whenever you're ready to keep going, you can like the video and subscribe to Gay Audiobooks so the next part finds you when the time feels right. No rush. Feel what you need to feel first.